Welcome back, everybody, to the Water Cooler. All right, when you think of Washington, D.C., you think of a lot of things. I mean, bureaucracy, the nation's capital, America, nice statues, government, and yes, the swamp, of course. Well, this weekend, it's going to be the scene of a constitutional march, part of a 5-city Freedom USA tour organized by the group 1776 Forever Free. And joining me now in studio is the co-founder of the organization, Dr. Cordie Williams. Dr. Williams, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me on, David. It's an honor.
Well, tell me, talk to me about what's going to happen this weekend. What should we expect?
Well, we're going to be gathering about 12 o'clock tomorrow at the National Monument and basically from 12 to 1, we're going to march around the White House. We're going straight into the hornet's nest, so to speak, down 8th Street. Right, which is now that very
Black Lives Matter plaza.
Oh yeah, the very conservative, loving mayor that cares about patriotic values and all that.
That person, yes.
Yeah, that person, right? Yeah, I was just saying, I think before we came on air, I think that literally my child's 4-year-old birthday party had more people than all the people at the Sleepy Joe rallies. Even if you take the rallies for the last 15 months. But we're going to go down 8th Street, and then we'll come back around on 15th, and then we'll end up at the Ellipse, and we've got probably about 5 or 6 amazing speakers like Joy Villa, Young Pharaoh.
A bit about not just the point of the march, but it really is kind of the DNA of the march is the Constitution, right? I mean, talk to about the constitutional rights and being under attack, especially in today's society.
Well, sir, bottom line,
yeah.
I just got tired of feeling pressed up against the wall with this whole COVID thing, if you want to call it that.
That's what it is.
It's gotten interesting, right? With one day we mask, one day you don't mask, and then there's this arbitrary distance that evidently the virus can infect us right now because you and I are 6 feet away.
Yeah, apparently it's good. Maybe if we were 5.5, it might be different.
Yeah, right. Or like 5.3, 6.2, who knows?
Right. But it's arbitrary. A lot of it's been arbitrary. You're not quite sure what to do exactly.
Exactly, and then they change their mind all the time. And then in the first time in epidemiological history, you have this arbitrary 6-foot distance and these facial diapers that you wear, and then everybody's okay, evidently. But at any rate, we're basically just going to be talking about constitutional freedom for everybody. We don't care what you worship. We don't care what color your skin is. We just care. Do you want red, white, and blue? And do you want your kids to be able to stand for the flag? And do you want them to actually be able to recognize America 10 or 15 years from now? And right now, I think that's a big question, that in order to have those values that you and I were raised with, we got to start fighting. And that's the whole purpose of these rallies, and that's why Chris Lippy and I, that's why we founded 1776 Forever Free.
Yeah, tell me a little bit more about that organization. Well, that you kind of said the overall point of it, but what are you hoping to do within the organization in terms of awareness and other things?
Yeah, well, our goal is we want to get people excited at these rallies, but bottom line, after they're excited, we also want to get them active. I really see that silent majority that's out there can be mobilized. I mean, I have friends that are now don't have any political experience at all, but now they're jumping into politics. They're jumping into their local government. They're getting involved in city council. And that's what we want to do. We want people, whether you're a soccer mom, which is, in my opinion, is the most important job in the world, right? Or whether you're a service member, whether you're a teacher, whatever your trade is, we want you to know that we want you to become a politician. We want you to say, you know what, these local city and state governments, these mayors, these city councils, look what happened under COVID. With all the restrictions where you had some states where men and women were standing up saying, you know what, we're not doing this in our neck of the woods. And then you had others that just kind of laid down and allowed it to happen. And so that's really what it's about. We want to motivate, move, touch, and inspire, but then we want people to get out and act and get involved.
Yeah, well, I would think a big part of that is education. I mean, it just seems like we're just not very much of an informed citizenry as we used to be back in the Black Robe Regiment days and the Revolutionary War days. It just seems like we're kind of lax in that area, especially with the Gen Zers and the millennials out there.
100%, David. I totally agree with that. I think that you're right. Like, in most places, this is just a mask mandate. These are mandates. They're not laws. But as patriots, we're being asked to do it. And now's the time where I think conservatives like you and I, really freedom fighters, you've been doing it way longer than I have. I think it's time that we kind of stood up and said, you know what, enough is enough. I'm not going to let you do that in my neck of the woods. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to fight back. And I think there's a peaceful way to do that. And that's what 1776 is all about. So we're going around the country, the nation. We're not going to stop after this freedom tour ends. In fact, I've got a book I'm launching called 1776 Forever Free. Divided to United, a Patriot's Journey. It's going to be about solutions, about what our forefathers did, and about what you can do now to really move the needle on freedom.
California, you're from, I guess, California now.
Yeah, well, I'm an Alabama boy.
Right.
But I live in Adolph Newsom's nation there. Like,
Yeah.
I get the nation that he governs communistly over.
Right. Well, but I was going to say, I mean, that's off the reservation out there. I mean, what in the world? I mean, the church. We've been following the church situation out there, but it's not just churches. I mean, which is kind of funny. They want to have electric cars by 2035. Apparently, in California, they can't even figure out the rolling blackouts. But anyhow, that's a whole separate issue. What do you make of what's happening in California, and what do you do specifically? I'm curious for yourself when it comes to masks, because you got to go to a grocery store, CVS. I mean, they want you to wear the mask. You can't go in. So what do you do? I mean, you don't want to do it from a constitutional standpoint, but there's these mandates. So how do you handle all of that?
Well, that's a great question, David. And, it's an honor to be here with you. Like, honestly, because, just looking back with everything you've done to move the needle on freedom, I just kind of looked around, like a lot of Americans, felt backed up against a wall. And I thought about my kids. I got a 4-year-old, I got a 2-year-old, and just kind of looking at what was happening. When my video went viral and I got about 15 million hits, I started to say, I can sit on the sidelines or I can fight back. With the masking thing, I mean, honestly, for myself, I just go in and I tell folks and I tell businesses, I said, hey, I know it's not your rule, but I'm not going to put on a mask. Constitution says I don't have to. I've got a medical exemption that says I don't have to, and this is a mandate.
Well, what do they say to that?
Well, I get resistance. I'm
Sure,
not going to say I don't. It's not easy, but sometimes it does get, there are intense moments for defending it. But a lot of times I just walk in now, walk right past whoever, I go to what I want, if I'm buying groceries or milk or whatever, right? I'll go in, I'll go to that section. If somebody comes up to me, I'll be like, I'm going to buy this milk, and I promise you, in the next 3 minutes, you won't get the COVID virus and die. You're going to survive, right? And I just say it in a loving way that way.
Right.
And also for small businesses, I try to just tell them, I said, hey, with this medical exemption letter that I have, you're protected. The ADA, you're protected by ADA and OSHA regulations around masking. A lot of people don't know that.
Well, listen, Dr. Cordie Williams, I appreciate you being here. Good luck with the march this weekend.
Thanks, David. Really appreciate it. It's an honor.
Good for you. All right, when we come back, Savannah Guthrie, I mean, don't get me started. Well, actually get me started, because after the break, I'm going to get started with talking a little bit about the Trump Town Hall, which, by the way, should have been probably titled A National Town Hall with Savannah Guthrie, the way it was. Play Gavolt. Back in a moment.